Meow meow, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hi everyone, Cantonese Cat here. 2-year yield, a monthly chart. I've been pounding on the table saying that yield is probably going to go lower. Yield is probably going to go lower. I don't care what the Fed does. It really doesn't matter. The Fed doesn't really set Fed rates. They just kind of follow market conditions. You have real rates you can follow and you can chart. What I was trying to tell you is that if you do the Ichimoku cloud analysis, you're going to get a couple lines here. One line you're going to get is these Tenkan line right here, which is labeled in red right here. The Tenkan line for the monthly over the last year or so has flipped from being support, especially this one right here is very, very good support right there, that spot. It flipped the Tenkan from support, and as it rose over, it flipped it from support into now resistance. Broke down over here over the last few months, trying to backtest once, twice, and 3 times. It doesn't look good for rates. I mean, I think rates are probably going to go lower for longer. I don't know what people are really talking about when they're talking about higher for longer, only because every single time this happens, things are about to roll over. People have been very, very bullish on rates for a very, very long time. They've been bullish for rates for about, really about 1, 2, 3 years now. They're just used to being bullish on rates. And when rates are kind of settling down, the narrative is that you're going to have higher for longer. Everybody's just going to get all hyped up about rates all over again when it just simply made a lower high. When things make a lower high, it's not necessarily a good look. It's got that rolling over look, doesn't it? Now, if you zoom out a little bit, it does clearly look like it's kind of got a little rolling over kind of look. And right now we're back testing the Kijun after breaking down on it, just like we're back testing Kijun right down here after we broke down of it. Back test once, twice, failed, drop. Back tested 1, 2, 3 times. I don't know what's going to happen next. What do you think? Looks like it's rolling over here. Looks like it's rolling over here. Just like down here when things, you can't really get lower than 0, but some people are talking about negative rates when we're getting to the depths of COVID down here. But eventually, when people don't think that rates are going to go much higher, make a parabolic move up. When people think that it's going to go higher for longer, what do you think is going to happen? What's the possibility here? Well, it can make a parabolic move down. How far is it going to go down? I don't know. There are a couple of supports here. One is this Kijun line, which didn't really serve as very good support at all in the past. I'm not sure whether or not this is really going to be good support here either, because it just slides right through and tests the cloud. Over here, when it tested the cloud in around 2019, late 2019, kind of hovering around here for a little bit before it just plummeted down. Over here, I don't know. It doesn't look like it's going to stay higher for longer, does it? These things just happen over and over again. If you just look over at like 2006, 2007, 2008, very same thing. You have a breakdown, and it really tried to backtest a few times. At a certain time, it even looked like it was going to break through, but plummeted. This is what happens when you have a breakdown of price action underneath or regional support and back tested it. It's going to go down. This is generally what happens. You see that over and over again. You can look at Bitcoin. It did the same thing. Whenever it breaks down, back test, fall. Break down, back test, fall. This is not new. For 2-year yield, it's not looking good. It looks like it's pretty bearish, price action. Same thing for a 10-year. It's basically doing the same thing. It flipped from being support into resistance, and so far is hitting pretty bad resistance so far. So I'm not really sure what people are talking about when they're talking about higher for longer. US dollar has been forming this bearish descending triangle. No. Usually these things are bearish because basically it just means that there are more and more supply, and the demand right here is being attacked. More than likely, these things usually end up breaking down through the floor, and right now the US dollar is not looking too hot. It's still kind of finding support here in the Kijun, but there's a possibility that it's going to test the bottom of the triangle down here. It's going to fall over. Oil. Everybody started getting bullish on the oil. I'm not sure about that. Breaking down the Kijun, breaking down the Tenkan here first, breaking down the Kijun here, back tested the Kijun, failed. Guess what it's doing right now is back testing the Tenkan. Fell below both, back tested, fail, back tested, maybe fail. You do have a little bit of Ichimoku cloud right down here, which can potentially serve as support. But I'm not sure. There's a potential that oil would keep dropping down. Like, this is not a good look. This is a very, very much of a rolling over kind of look. It's not bullish for oil. I don't know. Like, if you look at how bearish people have been on assets, I was told that the firm doesn't look good. I was actually see a few messages on Xter calling me a clown for talking about a firm. All it did really is just kind of back tested the Kijun right here after its breakout. It broke out here, tested as support, served as support, pushed price higher. And it simply just coming back down to test the Kijun right here down as support again on the monthly, on low volume. Buying up volume, selling low volume. This is looking pretty good. I mean, if you don't just look at the monthly, if you also look at the weekly and you just look at the bull market support band, I was being made fun of. That I was basically saying that the bull market support band is probably going to serve as support. You can have, a move up, but it doesn't matter because if it's upsloping, most likely it's going to end up pushing price up higher. And you can have some moves that are a little bit outside, but ultimately the trend is up. The red curve right here is the 20-week moving average is pointing the price up. So this is probably not going to serve as very, very bad resistance, even though the price kind of fell down below. It's probably going to be better support than as a resistance. This whole 3 months of downtrend, really talking about 4 months of downtrend here, are an extremely low volume compared to the buy volume. The sellers here are really non-committal. They're just kind of waiting for a catalyst to happen. And guess what a catalyst is? I suppose if you're into the catalyst kind of thing as opposed to technical analysis, the catalyst is that the rates they're dropping. I mean, it's a bleep on the radar really today. It looks like it's kind of forming a little bit of a lower high here. And it looks like it's going to push above the bull market support band here on the weekly, but it drops. Maybe it finds support right here. I don't know. But looking at a greater trend, it doesn't seem it's not a good look. It's not a good look on the monthly. As I show you, the 2-year yield on the monthly actually was looking pretty bearish here. It's got that rolling over look. And if you, in addition to looking at the Ichimoku cloud with the Tenkan here, you can also look at another indicator, which is the Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Band is kind of giving you a little bit of idea that prices, or in this particular case, real, that's going to be making a pretty parabolic move one way or another. And the fact that the 20-month moving average is kind of slipping, getting flat, is suggesting that this big move is probably going to end up moving down. Last time you have something similar happen, 20-month moving average started curling, becoming flat, Bollinger Band squeezing, next thing you know, a big giant move down. It's not looking good for yields, guys. I mean, I wish I can just keep making 4 or 5% on my money market, but it's not looking good. It's kind of got a little bit of falling underneath of this 20-month moving average, kind of going up and trying to do a little bit of back test up here. You would imagine it would go up, but the greater trend is not looking good for it. What does it mean? It means that a lot of the rate-sensitive assets, I'm not the only person that's looking at this. I'm sure I'm not the only person who's looking at the fact that it is pretty weak price action in terms of yields. This basically means that any yield-sensitive assets, such as your fintech stocks like Affirm, which is extremely rate-sensitive, it already is looking very bullish to me. Huge buy volume, low sell volume. That means that Affirm's probably going to end up doing pretty well. This is no coincidence. Affirm is finding support when yield is hitting resistance. This is no coincidence. That's why it's up 11.4% today. There's another stock that is also very rate sensitive, which is Upstart. Upstart also made about a 10% move up today. It doesn't look nearly as good on the Ichimoku cloud, but if you look at the 20-month moving average, we just put up the Bollinger Band, you look at a 20-month moving average, actually looks pretty good. The 20-month moving average is starting to flatten. And it looks like price actually want to get back above the 20-month moving average at some point. Now, in addition to that, you can see that price action was basically telling you what was going to happen based on volume. Huge buy volume, big buy volume, low sell volume, big buy volume, low sell volume, big buy volume, declining sell volume. And right now we're at an inflection point where the 20-month moving average is crawling flat, potentially having a trend change, and the Bollinger Band squeezing a little bit. This is looking pretty good for these, rate-sensitive assets. SoFi hasn't really been looking that great, but guess what? SoFi also found support. I actually think this candle has very, very similar look to this candle based on the way it's looking. It's got a little bit of a cup, a little bit of a smaller cup right here, got a little bit of a cup here, got a little bit of a smaller cup right here. This candle actually looked potentially very similar to this candle right here. Now, there's still about 7 trading days for the month of March. Do I expect it to make a little dragonfly up like that? Not necessarily. I mean, it doesn't have to. The very fact is that the 20-month moving average has been changing trend, crawling up now. This is an uptrending 20-month moving average. This could potentially serve as support. And the longer price spans at the upper part of the Bollinger Band, basically it helps it to eventually build up more of a bull trend. And that's exactly what's happening. It tested the 20-month moving average. Looks like it's finding support, leaving a little bit of a wick behind. I see a lot of similarities between this candle right here and this candle right here. We'll see what happens. I mean, we still have 7 trading days starting tomorrow. We'll see what happens with this, but this is another rate-sensitive stock that did pretty well today, up about 6.3%. Even our most hated fintech stock, good old PayPal. PayPal is actually looking pretty good today too. It's up about 3%, nothing to, be super bullish about, but the bottom line is that I think the trend is changing though. This is the Tenkan on the monthly chart. Is spent months number 1, 2, and 3 trying to break above the Tenkan. Looks like month number 4 may be the charm here. So far, our price action is above. I do wonder whether or not this could potentially be a trend change. I'd like to see it, sustain price above rather than just making it wick like it did over here. But it's been trying so much. I think it's been absorbing a lot of supply over here, and most likely it's going to end up flipping this Tenkan into support from resistance, which is going to be a pretty bullish thing. It could probably potentially backtest it at some point before going up. Even PayPal is looking bullish on the Ichimoku Cloud analysis with the Tenkan line here. And if you also look at the volume, the buying volume has been up, the selling volume has been down. I think you might be dealing with a little bit of a trend change here for PayPal. Another popular stock here when it comes to fintech that could potentially benefit, Square, plus 2.7%. Didn't go up too much, but it's still nothing to sneeze at. I mean, looking at the trend, it really looks like it wants to break above this descending broadening wedge over here that I've been drawing really ever since at the bottom over here. It's looking like it wants to break above. It looks like it's going to use Tenkan to try to push the price upwards and to challenge the cloud eventually. It could wait for the Tenkan to slope up even more, and it could backtest the support and push up, or it could just keep going up from here, doing a little bit of backtest and flip up. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but right now, price is getting a little bit closer to the top of this volume shelf over here too. So things are looking a little bit more bullish. Now, in addition to just looking at the Ichimoku Cloud, you can also look at the Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Band is expanding a little bit up and down, and the 20-month moving average is starting to crawl up a little bit. Price has spanned about 3 or 4 months above the 20-month moving average at the upper part of the Bollinger Band. All this is pretty bullish price action. Another fintech to look at that also went up a lot is Robinhood. 7.6%. It looks like it was initially finding a little bit of resistance up here at the top of this volume shelf, which is expected. And it looks like it wants to, challenge that again. I'm not sure whether or not it's going to break through about this level around 19 to 20. It would be nice if it does, but if it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. I do expect that eventually it's probably going to end up doing some kind of back test and things like that. Look at the Ichimoku Cloud. The Tenkan Kijun Cross has already happened, and the Tenkan is slowly sloping up. There's a potential that Robinhood might go sideways a little bit and wait for the Tenkan to kind of push the price up even higher. So I wouldn't necessarily be scared or upset if the price ends up going sideways. It's not anything that I'm really super worried about. You know what else is rate sensitive? IWM. IWM went up 2% today. You're talking about SPY on a day that SPY went up less than 1%. You're talking about QQQ went just a little bit over 1%. But the IWM went up 2% today. There is a lot of rotation that is happening into small caps. People are finally getting a little bit more bullish on small caps because rates are not higher for longer. Rates are hitting resistance. So because of that, you're talking about IWM probably going to have a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross. None of this are coincidence, by the way. Like all this stuff we've been watching for months and months and months and months, you can see it happening as the IWM was about to have a cross. Generally, this means bullish things for the underlying assets. You can see that when price bounced from the bottom of the cloud, went back up, back tested the top of the cloud, is going up. All this are very, very bullish price action. And none of this is coincidence, I don't think. And what it did over here too was it basically did a little bit of a breakout of this horizontal resistance level that has a lot of touches over here, a lot of touches over here and here. All it did is basically just went up, did back test. It looks like it might be ready to run potentially pretty soon. You look at the weekly too, it really is using this Tenkan line as kind of as a support. It back tested a few times, but right now Tenkan's actually serve as support. This is bull market behavior. When the Tenkan is serving as a weekly support, push price up higher, this is pretty bullish behavior of a bull market. So all of these rate sensitive stocks, all these fintech stocks, IWM, everything that I've been showing you, I've been going up. And all of the miners, which I'm not even going to go too much about, all the miners have made some pretty significant gain of, plus 16% for Mara, plus 11% for Bitfarm. And I think CleanSpark has made a pretty monster move of 22.8%. You're talking about a small miner like Wolf just all of a sudden made like 35.5% today. Basically, you're looking at a lot of these kinds of stocks. They're doing pretty well today when rates are hitting resistance. And if you look at the rates hitting resistance, everybody is sniffing it out. A lot of people are sniffing it out. I don't know what else to say. I mean, these are my market thoughts. I've shared you these thoughts for quite some time. It looks like it's actually transpiring into potentially into reality. I'm just gonna keep watching. I'm just gonna keep buying, whenever I can. One last thing I want to leave you with is this is the TQQQ. This is a triple average QQQ. Now QQQ already has made an all-time high a long time ago, but the triple leverage, QQQ, when it goes down, it's going to go down a lot harder than the QQQ. When it goes up, it's going to take a lot longer for it to recover. But it didn't really matter as much because if you look at the TQQQ here, it also looks very bullish. Something very bullish seemed to have happened, which is the Ichimoku cloud. First thing is it made a Tenkan Kijun cross over here, which is going to be a pretty bullish indicator that this is probably going to keep going for quite some time. The second thing is it broke through the cloud, and it kind of back tested it this month. And if this back test holds, I think it's probably going to end up going a lot higher. Can it potentially have some, further downtrend, maybe even back test the cloud a second time is possible. But even TQQQs is looking quite bullish. I don't know. Another thing also I want to say that is also looking bullish is ARK. The ARK fund that everybody's making fun of has already flipped this resistance from Tenkan as resistance back up a support for about months number 1, 2, 3, and 4 now. It's looking like it's forming a very, very good base. It's looking like it might potentially be running up pretty soon, maybe over the next couple of months or so, especially if the Tenkan end up crossing over to Kijun and have a bullish cross over here. Anyway, it's been close to 20 minutes. Just want to share you some market thoughts, share you some fintech thoughts, and talk to you about rates. Again, I don't think the Fed does anything, with the exception that they just want to turn on the printer for money when they can. When they're sensing that there's deflationary forces, when inflation is no longer a big issue, they're going to start turning the printer again. They're going to print a bunch of money, and the money is going to flow into Bitcoin. And when enough money flows into Bitcoin, it's going to flow into small caps. Looks like it's about to get potentially pretty parabolic soon. We'll see what happens. Thank you for listening. Have a good one. Bye.